Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and it's our last live show of the year with the crowning of the trivia champion, an 8-ball episode preview, and a look at what we should have learned from the big events of 2022, like never make fun of Jada Pinkett Smith. Here with us today, we have the Grinch who sold Christmas, OG. Then from lenpenzo.com, Santa's head elf. Nah, it's only his slightly more jolly friend, Len Penzo. And lastly, our writer who's promised us she'd stay off the eggnog, so I hope that's a milk mustache, Paulette Perhach. And now, a guy who's going to lead your Benjamin stack into 2023, it's Joe Saul-Sehy.
Well, guys, I can't believe we're here already. It's our last recording of 2022. Hey, I am Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter. Doug, thank you for the open, and happy holidays to you, my friend. Ready for a nice week off next week?
You're letting me have the week off next week? This is news to me.
And on to OG. Hey, OG, how are you doing, man?
Perfect. I just had my birthday.
You did 2 days ago. Happy birthday. And you don't look any older. You look exactly the same.
I get younger every year.
Yes. And more handsome.
Like
absolutely.
Benjamin Button.
And the woman who, how do I transition from Benjamin Button to Paulette Perhach? I have no idea.
Aging like a fine wine over here. I'm 40 and a half this month. So there we go. Do that. I still do that.
Happy half birthday, Paulette.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes. Happy half birthday. You ready for a big week off next week? You take a week off next week?
I'm not taking a week off. But I always tend to like take my time off when everyone else is working, and then vice versa. So when, you travel for the first 7 months of the year, I just got a big assignment that's going to be due basically on New Year's Eve.
Oh,
so,
no.
I know. I'm not that sad about it, though. I'm really not. I'm excited. And yeah, I'll be having fun, but it's always a big time in my business because it's right before I launch Powerhouse Writers. And all the writers are like, it's New Year's. I didn't do the writing I wanted to do this year. So there tends to be a lot going on in my world, and I'm kind of just used to it, and I'm okay with it. I would rather have a super breezy summer and work during the winter. So that's kind of my style.
Now tell me your marketing.
How did you manage to get a plug in there for Powerhouse Writers?
Did you see how I did that? Did you see how I did it?
It's awesome.
You wonder how, and that's what writing is all about.
And there's going to be like 2 more later in the episode. She's a ninja.
I like to eat, Doug. Do you? So, yeah, there is.
I'm wondering now, after that, by the way, about the marketing of Powerhouse Writers. Like, do you go on and buy a bunch of Facebook ads at 2:30 in the morning on New Year's Day, feeling regret writers about your 2022?
Yeah, I don't want to be a tap water writer, okay? I like to be a LaCroix writer. So
there it is. Upscale. Upscale.
I don't know. Yeah, I talk about
the guy who's already cuddling up around the Christmas tree in his bunker, Mr. Len Penzo, joins us. How are you, man?
I am fantastic. But what I really want to know is does Paulette, do you write any of your Christmas themed, do any of your Christmas themed writing with the Christmas alphabet?
Oh, God. I sense a dad joke.
Oh, well, do you?
Take cover. Save yourself.
Have you ever heard of it? You've never heard of the Christmas alphabet?
Gee, Len,
Paulette?
what's the Christmas alphabet?
Well, it has no L.
Just a holy wait.
Just no. Let the pause go.
Here.
Let the silence.
There it.
Drag
I found
out.
it. OG, I got to it first. Yes, but OG got to it twice, just to make it. No. We got a great show today. We've got Len, we've got Paulette, we've got OG. We're going to talk about the big things that we could learn from 2022. We heard from Katie Gaddy on Wednesday from Morning Brew. So let's hear what our roundtable has. Let's go. Well, I thought we'd start with the old man here in the basement, Mr. Penzo. Bring up one thing here that you learned in 2022 from an event of 2022. What's a big event from 2022 we should have learned from?
Well, I think one of the most obvious ones is, and I think a lot of people have have gotten complacent here. The stock market does not always go up. I mean, I think people have over the years have thought investing is kind of easy. Yes.
You're blowing my mind. Did not know that. What are we doing here? Why are we even putting money in it if it doesn't just go up, Len?
What?
Well, what can I say? I you know what? I mean, that's just a fact. I think a lot of people are actually quite shocked this year. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talking about like it's the end of the world, and when it's really not the end of the world. I mean, stocks do they'll go through the year and they'll finish lower than they started with, but it's not the end of the world. And I think that's the corollary to the stocks don't always go up happening.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking that there are people that have been writing on the internet now for 15 years, 14 years, maybe 14 years is the number. 14 years and have not seen a down market yet. I mean, they had little downs here and there, but not like they had this year, Len. You've got people that are presenting themselves as gurus, right? That I know a person with a book who's about to come out who calls themselves a money guru. And they were not investing in 2007, 2008. Had no idea. It's the first time a lot of us are seeing it now.
Yeah, you know what? And it's understandable. I mean, if you've just started getting investing in, say, right after the last big, what was it, the crash of 2008, I guess 2009, when stocks were in their last sustained fall, I guess it's understandable. But this is nothing. One, it's not the end of the world. And, two, it's no reason to stop everything you're doing and stop investing. I mean, you just have to be a little more careful, maybe put a little more in cash if you want, but it's not the end of the world. And it's something that actually happened more often in the past. It's just, we've had this tremendous run with the stock market over the past decade or so. So
I want to tackle this topic from both OG and Paulette's profession. Paulette, I want to start with you. Have you had more writing assignments this year that are all about the doom and gloom in the stock market? I remember a mentor telling me early on that if you watch the popular press, the stock market any given day either soars or plummets. And imagine if you got on an elevator and your two choices were soar or plummet. Like what a horrible thing that would be. And yet, as you know, that kind of sexiness sells. Have you had more of those types of assignments this year?
No, I don't usually do. I usually do more along the lines of like creative business, the overlap between creativity and business. But I like what my friend Terry Trespicio said, where people are freaking out about the recession. Definitely with some of my clients, we've talked about how everyone's kind of obsessed with the idea of recession, and I think that there is this kind of domino effect for sure, where it's like, well, everyone's talking about it. And then everyone starts acting like there is a recession. And then, people lose their jobs and then people feel like there's a recession, so it's hard to know what's the chicken and what's the egg.
That's funny. It's almost like we will it into existence. Oh, it's got to be because we all think it is. Yeah. Oh, gee, does that ring true from a financial advising point of view that we kind of tuck ourselves into the negativity?
Well, most definitely. I think from a planning standpoint, if you're not paying attention to your personal, kind of talk, your mental space, you can quickly kind of spiral out of control. And I want to also add something to what Len said about this is kind of the first decline that a lot of people have experienced. There's been a couple of, close to 20% declines over the last 15 years, since 2008, 2009. But this is the first time that it happened with the money that you have today, and I'll talk to people and they'll say, oh yeah, I stayed the course and I did well during the last, when it went down 20% in 2012, I was fine. Or when it went down 50% in 2007, I was fine. It's like, well, yeah, you did it with that money, but now you have this money, which may be 5 times more than you had. It's easy to do when you have a $50,000 IRA and it goes down to 30. But when you have a $2 million IRA and it goes down to 1.2, we think in terms of our earning capabilities. And when we see numbers that equate to years and years and years of work, like I just lost 4 years of work. Like I have to work and save every penny for 4 years to make that back. it's kind of the first sense that we have that, volatility is real. But that doesn't mean that you should do anything different. That doesn't mean that you should stop investing, kind of like what Len said. But yeah, this is a fun lesson for a lot of people.
Well, let's talk about you guys individually as investors based on what OG said. Len, for you, you're in a spot where you decided to retire this year, right? And you've got a stock market down. You got this recession discussion. Like, what does that do to your psyche? Like, has that changed your strategy at all?
Well, yeah, I got more cautious earlier in the year just because things looked they were headed down, and I'm retiring, which anybody will tell you the worst time to retire is right in the teeth of a bear market. I mean, that's just the absolute worst time to do so. So I went to cash for quite a bit of my holdings in cash just as a defensive move. Normally I wouldn't do that, but I did it because I knew I was retiring, and so I wanted to kind of protect myself a little bit, at least feel a little safer. Because OG makes a great point. When you're just starting out, it's all relative. If you're just starting out, 20% might seem like the end of the world, but when you're my age and you've built up a pretty good nest egg, it hurts. It hurts more when you see that number. Yeah, it hurts. So it's just psychologically, it's something I didn't want to.
Well, the percentage is the same, Len. 20% is 20%. I understand. But the dollar amount is what we feel. We don't feel percentages. That's why I think it's really funny to see people do like risk tolerance questionnaires and that sort of thing. And they're like, are you comfortable with a 20% decline? It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't, I don't go to the grocery store and spend 0.5% of my income this week. You spend dollars, and when you see the statement, and Fidelity and TD and Schwab and all those people, they do a nice job of going, this is how much you had, this is how much you have today, look at how much it's gone down. They put that right in your face, so it feels.
Let me say this:
a lot realer.
When you're younger, you have plenty of time to recover. Okay, but when you're an old guy like me, there is one thing with math that, with respect to losses, if you have a portfolio and you lose 50% of your portfolio, and I'm not trying to scare anybody here, this is just from an older person's perspective who has less time, you have to gain 100% to get that 50% you lost back. So the guy with not as much time like me, that means more to me than somebody who's young and you have plenty of time ahead of you. It's not an issue, but it does tend to be an issue for older people who have less time to recover.
The good news is, isn't it? Sorry. Good news is, Len, I was looking at a piece in Financial Planning Magazine yesterday about, which, all the kids are reading these days. And I was looking at withdrawal rates, and study after study shows that if you can make it during your bear market portfolio, if you have enough money to make it now, your effective withdrawal rate's not like 4%. It's like you could take out like 11. You know what I mean? If you can make it work on the amount of money that you have right now, then things will naturally improve over time, and it ends up being pretty good. So from the other standpoint, if it works during the bear market, it's pretty close to an all-weather portfolio.
Yeah, you're golden. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Paulette, because being mid-career, you look at this, and I'm wondering if you've got the same outlook that Len has on it, thinking about the bear market.
Oh no, because I'm not old. I'm sorry, Len. I couldn't resist.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
No, I do tend to have that, I'll be fine, and I can catch up and things like that. But yeah, it's not that true anymore. And so, I do know that as much as I can afford to invest right now, I should be investing. And I think, I'm still 25 years out from my retirement. If I ever retire, I'm never gonna be like, thank God, no more writing for me. Woohoo! Speech time for me. But I do want to retire. And so just trying to put as much as I can into it and close my eyes. I think that OG had such a great point, though, that when we talk about it in percentages. And a part of writing is knowing that people feel things so much more when it is parallel to how we actually experience them. So we do not experience percentages. We experience $40,000, right? Like we know if I say 15% to you, you're not like feeling a lot. If I say $40,000, then the feelings come up, right? And we act on our feelings. As much as we try not to, we usually do. So I think that's a really good point. So I'm not looking at it. I have plenty of time. I am a young woman with a good part of my life ahead of me.
Well, I think for you,
Still
because you've talked about,
just saying,
but you've talked about, Paulette, about how you started late and about how really for you, this is, I mean, assuming that you can keep work, right? And you can put food on your table that you can eat. This could be an opportunity for you. Like the market being down truly could be a good thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, as long as you have the time to watch it come back up, then, but I don't, I think it is, I want to acknowledge that like people do suffer in a recession, right? And I think it's important that we all look at global and national events, not just like, what can I get out of it? But like taking everyone's experience into account, right?
Sure. No, which is exactly why I started with if you can eat, right? If you're not getting laid off from your job, if the stuff doesn't hit you, then there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and it's not a train. Oh, gee, let's get one from you. What is another event from 2022 that maybe we should learn from?
I want to put a pin in Len's first one real quick and just kind of, I have one other thought, if I may. And really it's just that if you're experiencing any sort of emotion associated with your portfolio, right? Hey, I'm really sad that it's gone down, or, I'm frustrated or, nervous or concerned about the future. That means that the money is not tied to a goal and time frame correctly. Because if the money is tied, Len, you're like, hey, I got to make 100% back. People, I mean, the math, obviously you're correct, but people underestimate how recoveries work. And every example is since the beginning of time, the stock market has always achieved newer highs. How long that takes? Does it take from 1968 to 1987? To your point, Len, that could be, kind of long if that were kind of where you are.
Yeah.
Because it's 20 years is a long time for you. But for the rest of us on the panel, not as long. But for you, 20 years is... Yeesh,
that might be all of it.
That might be it. There might be a lot more yesterdays than tomorrows. But
Len's already circling the bowl.
It's a kind of circle in the drain. But my point is that if you're looking at your portfolio and you're like, oh crap, I feel really concerned about this, you need to make sure that the money is tied to the time frame that you need it. Because if it is, and Len, I know you said, hey, I put some money in cash, but I bet you still have 20-year money invested. Right? Like if you're like, I need money in 20 years from now, that money's invested. The money that you need tomorrow can't be invested because you can't predict tomorrow. But I can say with pretty high certainty that 20 years, the market will be higher. So, so make sure that your goals are aligned with your money, and that'll help.
That's funny. I would totally say the opposite about like feeling sure about tomorrow versus 20 years from now. Have you read The Road? I don't know.
The Cormac McCarthy book?
Yeah.
Well, that just comes down to faith in the future. I mean,
where do you find it? Do you have some?
Hey, let me bring up one more thing, OG, for you.
Are you kidding?
Can I bring up one thing, OG, that you brought up about 20-year money? When I did my retirement, when I crunched my numbers and I determined that I was ready for retirement, I used my numbers. I really went extreme, and I said, what if I have 0% return over the next 20, 25 years? And that's what I based my numbers on. So, I'm not dependent on, an average of a 7% return over the next 25 years. Right. So that's why, I still sleep well at night. So
tons of flexibility. Well, if you could that's behavior up to that point for sure.
If you get a 0% rate of return over that time, not only is Paulette right, but you're living in a cave or a yurt with just as many guns and grain by your side as you could get. Yep. A few hogs, just a whole different whole different lifestyle if we get a 0% return.
I think I like
the
the
cans
tone
of
of your
Coke.
voice about that, Joe.
Well, but that's right. The economy is going to continue. It's the growth of companies, and the stock market is in voodoo. It's just a reflection of the economy continuing over a long period of time. OG, what is our next topic?
So I've got a couple, but I'm going to go with the gigantic crypto implosion of the last 8 or 10 weeks. Well, I mean, it's been going on for the entire year, but finally came to a head when that thief walked away with a couple $2 billion and somehow is at least as we're recording this, still not in prison. But I can imagine that's not going to last very long. I imagine he'll get himself a little Bernie Madoff love as well.
Man, this thing about crypto is so it's such a turn just to see, Paulette, just the change in the mood of the average person toward crypto. Like at the beginning of this year, we walked in January going, yeah, crypto. Yeah, I might be having a little bit of a bad day, but it's going to be okay. We're all relying on crypto. And now I feel like we're a house divided. We've got half the world going, oh, yeah, I still believe in crypto. The other half going, man, I don't know. It's weird to see the change.
They're all going, we told you so.
Yo, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm with Doug.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't still have Bitcoin. I mean, I've got it, but I don't expect it to do anything ever. But frankly,
I haven't looked at my Ethereum pile, little tiny pile of Ethereum.
Imagine the number you saw last time, divide it by 4. That's your new number.
It's a good day. Paulette, where do you think crypto's going?
It's the same reason I don't have any, because I don't get it. I don't understand it. I feel like the best thing I like I was just listening to something from Warren Buffett where he's like, I think it was his partner actually was like,
Charlie Munger hates it.
Yeah. He's like, he was like, the reason our principles have not caught on is because they're very boring. And I think that, especially as someone with ADHD, it's like I can get all excited in the fancy and the crypto and the this, and I'm like, bring it in. It should be boring. That is one thing I've learned about investing. It should be boring. So I have no idea what's going to happen with crypto. And one thing I love about life and getting a little older is realizing how many things you can opt out of. I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I do my little deposit once a week. There we go.
I love that idea because OG Buffett said, another great Buffett quote, since Paulette brought him up, is there's no such thing as a called strike. And that's a big aha, I think, that a lot of investors have to get. That just because everybody's talking about it doesn't mean I need to own it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, whether it's crypto or gold or, anything that doesn't produce economic value, right? You're holding on to it for potential speculation. There's just really no benefit in anything that doesn't produce income. How do you, and I don't mean like real estate. I'm talking about like, Coca-Cola makes income and Apple and, companies. So it's like, how do you value it? That's the hard thing, right? It's like, well, I think maybe, next year it'll be worth more. It's like, okay, Paulette, you're like, how do you have faith in the future? Well, because I think that men and women will still be shaving in 20 years from now and we'll still be drinking Coke and going to McDonald's and stuff like that. And, that's just what I think. Maybe not McDonald's, but, but I don't know how I can.
More
how do you,
Burger King guy?
More Burger King. Yeah, they're going to make a resurgence. It's going to be amazing. That guy from Domino's is in there. He's going to turn it around. But what do you do with crypto on that, right? How do you? I mean, I get the technology. I don't get the technology, but I understand that there's a technology impact of it. But what's the money aspect of it? It just doesn't seem like it's not a thing that I can wrap my head around. Kind of what Paulette said, and. Like Doug said, half the world's like, well, that's because you're a neophyte. You don't really understand it. It's like, okay. Yeah. Cool.
Len, I feel like there's two themes here. I think theme number one for 2022 is that we've got central banks decreasing the amount of physical currency. So central bank digital currency on one side, right? And this idea of going to no more dollar bills in our wallet. and we can track all the money, versus the crypto movement where maybe, we have this this second stream of currency not tied to a government entity. Where do you stand on crypto here that might be different than where you were at the beginning of the year?
Well, crypto, I've always said that crypto is just a speculative investment as far as I'm concerned. I don't buy that it's a store of value. It hasn't proven itself like gold has in a currency crisis or anything like that. So until that happens, it's not a store of value, in my opinion. It's speculative. That being said, I wish I had speculated in some Bitcoin 10 years ago. I really do, but I didn't, and that's water under the bridge. I'm not going to jump in now when prices are where they're at. The other thing, I think CBDCs are a different animal than cryptos in that they are centrally controlled, and there's lots of things that, you lose privacy, you lose a lot of autonomy, and the government has a lot more control with those CBDCs. I mean, they can do things with CBDCs that you can't imagine they could do with a digital dollar that you get at your bank. The difference between a digital dollar that's deposited into your bank account on a weekly or bi-monthly basis.
Len, can I ask what a CBDC is?
It's a central bank digital currency. So they're talking about right now, the Fed just did an experiment with 10 major banks were using this central bank digital currency. This is a currency that will be issued directly by the Fed. It takes the commercial banks out of the loop. And there's a lot of things, they'll know everything a credit card company or whoever, they know too when you're buying things, but this is the government is involved, and they can do things that commercial banks can't do with digital dollars. As I was saying, one of the things that's very interesting is they can force you, if they wanted to, a CBDC, they can expire those dollars, those CBDC dollars in your account. If let's say if they're afraid of deflation, and they want to increase it. Yes. So they could say the dollars that we deposited into your account on this day are good for 1 year. And if you don't spend them within 1 year, you lose them. So that's another really, scary thing, I think, about CBDCs. So that are totally different. Yeah, it's totally different. Essentially, your bank right now, those dollars you get from your job that are deposited, that can't happen. So that's a huge difference between CBDCs and digital dollars.
It's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, Paulette. What is this? Because I even brought it up in my question to Len earlier. But for people that don't know what a central bank digital currency is, think about a crypto that's run by the government. That's pretty much what you.
Which is like, what's the point? I don't know.
Well, the point is that OG and I have been saying since the very beginning of crypto that it's folly. It was folly all along that governments wouldn't get involved in this currency revolution. Like that was the big selling point back in the day. Remember? Oh, well, we'll get rid of the fiat. No, you're not going to get rid of it. Do you think the government's going to stand by and just let that happen?
There's too much power in it. Exactly.
Yes. There's just no way that would happen.
I want to make one more point that OG mentioned about gold, having no return. That is true. Gold, it pays no dividends. It has no return. But in a high inflationary environment, when it comes to savings, sometimes zero return is, in terms of real return, it's actually better than if you have cash that's losing value. So zero return is actually better than letting dollars sit in the bank and you're receiving 0.1% interest and inflation's running at 10%. You're better off with the gold, which is not returning zero, but at least that's the real return, is zero, not negative. So
let's move on to Paulette. Paulette, bring home the first half of this discussion. What's another lesson we should have learned from 2022?
Do not attach yourself to a person such as Kanye West. So there was a piece in the New York Times about how all these people had bought the shoes he makes, Yeezys, totally outside of my worldview. But basically it was like a Beanie Baby situation where they had bought them for a ton of money thinking that they would be collectible. And then, Kanye said what he said, and then they became worthless. So do not attach, it's like people who get a tattoo of a person. Having written my book during the Me Too era, I had to take 3 people out of my book during that because we found out they were not the best people. And so never putting all of your eggs in a basket held by a singular person.
You know, it's interesting. I've often wondered this, OG, when we talk about even asset managers back in the day, people would think, well, you know, this is the Fidelity Magellan Fund, which is, you know, has always done well, and because of it's managed X way, or remember Mutual Beacon had a day. Like, I think about all these fund managers, and then we go to hedge fund managers. Ray Dalio says something, and we all go, "Oh, well, if Ray Dalio said it, that it's right." But we've seen these people come and go. Abby Joseph Cohen at Goldman Sachs called the 2000 to 2002, and then when 2007 2008 happened, she was 100% wrong, like way wrong about what was going on 2007 2008.
Well, I mean, it's just like, it's going on right now too, where people are prognosticating about, hey, we're in a recession, we're not in a recession, we're going to be in a recession, the market's going to decline, the market's already declined, the market's on the way back. You know, it's like, you can prove air quotes, your way and you know, using whatever data you feel like using to kind of accentuate your point, whatever side of the argument you feel like selling right now. And I think that back to, you know, what we were talking about at the very beginning, if your money is if your money is not aligned with the right time frame, then you have an issue with that, because you're going to be constantly under stress going, oh crap, I don't know. Since I don't know if we're at the bottom, I don't know whether or not I should invest my money. Should I keep it in cash or should I invest it? I don't know if, you know, Bitcoin's going up or down, or inflation's going to go down, or they're going to raise rates or lower rates. I don't know what to do right now. But if you have your money invested in the right time horizon, you can say pretty confidently, you know, based on history, it's like, okay, well, 20 years from now, when I need this money, or when I start to retire, the first year that I retire, I'm going to need this little tranche of it. I feel pretty good about that being invested, whatever happens right now. So, I try not to spend a lot of time even entertaining conversations about, you know, hey, do you think that we're kind of sort of near the bottom? Do you think, you know, what do you think about next year? It's like, I mean, there's plenty of people on CNBC that get paid lots of dollars to advertise the heck out of you about that. And that's just above their pay grade, frankly, as well. But somehow they manage to make a crap load of money doing it. And a lot of us kind of just continue to drink the Kool-Aid. I don't understand why.
You know,
that's right.
Kanye said what he said, or whatever he calls himself now, said what he said. But I'm wondering, from an investment standpoint, at his advanced age, or their advanced age, what do you do with somebody like Buffett and Munger? I mean, these guys are pretty getting up there. Len, what do you think? Do you invest in a company like Berkshire Hathaway at this juncture with a change of guard that could happen tomorrow?
I'm not, and that's doesn't anything to say one way or the other about Berkshire Hathaway. But the thing I want to point out, I think a roundabout way that OG just mentioned, that basically what he's saying is you shouldn't care what anybody predicts. It doesn't matter unless you're trying to time a market top or a market bottom. It's irrelevant. That's why we dollar cost average. That's why you stay consistent and you buy the same amount, if you within reason, every month, and that smooths out all the noise, all the highs and all the lows. It ensures that you will never buy too high all the time, or sell too low at any time. So that's, as long as you're not timing the market, just dollar cost average, and everything's going to be okay. And tune out whatever everybody's predicting. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But still, tying yourself to these people, I'm going to go back to the same question. OG, somebody like a Buffett at his age, do you tie yourself to Berkshire Hathaway now?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's no different than saying, should I buy Apple stock right now? I mean, Tim Cook could, bear mace himself, or whatever you're talking about, bear spray himself at any moment, right?
People might hear that later.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that could happen. I mean, and or CEOs get fired or changed, or if you said, hey, I think at the beginning of the year, I think Twitter's the best investment in known to man. I mean, all of a sudden you don't own that stock anymore. Now what do you do if your fortune's tied to Elon Musk? It's like, oh, well, minus 50% in Tesla stock. So it's, I think it's the same thing for any of that. Should Berkshire Hathaway be part of your portfolio in as much as it's a part of the, national investment? Sure. Yeah. Should you put all of your money in Berkshire Hathaway? No, but you shouldn't do that with any company, I mean, although Berkshire is probably a little bit more diversified than any other organization, I suppose. I don't think that you want to tie your fortunes to any one particular person, regardless of who they are. Now, on the other hand, the theories that have made Buffett successful over the last, 70 years, I think are pretty sound, and his theories aren't his. They came from an investor before him who also was pretty successful, over 70 years. But
you don't think that a change at the top changes any of that? You think it's just a system?
Well, of course
and
it
change
will.
at the top makes it.
No, of course it will. No different than, if Tim Cook announces tomorrow. I mean, look at what happened with Disney just a couple of weeks ago. All of a sudden, on a Sunday evening, it's like, oh yeah, that CEO's out. This new CEO's in. Like, does that change Disney? Of course it does. Does it change it for the better or worse? I guess we'll see. A lot of people.
But I think you're
Berkshire
mistaken.
Hathaway more so than Berkshire Hathaway more so than any other company. I mean, that company is that. I mean, that's Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger's baby, basically. So I think
sure, but he doesn't run those organizations. He has all the individual CEOs of each one of the companies. Now the investment plan moving forward and how they deploy capital will probably change, I would imagine. But
because people would say that that's the magic of Berkshire Hathaway is not the CEOs of the companies; it's that they have these companies in their portfolio in the first place.
Yeah,
right.
The Paulette, it's interesting this point you bring up because Scott Galloway was on the show and talked about hero worship earlier this year, and I was already starting to feel that way, like this hero worship that we had at the beginning of the year with not just Elon Musk but also with people like Tim Cook or Bezos or any of these tech giants. I feel that people are starting to question that, like, why am I assigning these people more time and energy than maybe they're responsible for?
Yeah, I think, it's all about the principles. Like if you're like, oh, I like that principle. I like this principle. I've been watching The Vow. If anyone's been watching The Vow, it's like about this crazy cult leader. And he used a lot of principles that were correct. So even someone that terrible, you can be like, well, yeah, that works and that works. I don't think any of this other stuff works. Or like if you found out that this person had an affair or, cheated on his taxes or something else where you're like, I don't agree with that. And I think that's terrible. It doesn't mean that they own the principles that they practiced, right? You can still say, well, yes, that's a principle that I believe in. And yes, that, that's something that I actually maybe learned from that person, right? And you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but also I think try not to have that hero worship in the first place and understand that everyone's a human and what you are seeing might be a certain side of them.
This isn't a political show, but I hope that some of this gets adopted in politics, because this idea over the past, 15 years increasingly that politics is a football game and I'm either one team, I'm team red or I'm team blue, is just complete BS. It is just, let's be team principles, because one person doesn't have all the magic. One color doesn't have all the magic. It drives me crazy. Speaking of drives me crazy, guess what time it is, everybody? Oh, we got a very special segment today because we brought to the finish line again another year of our trivia challenge. And there is no trivia question, but today there is the coronation of a winner.
A beautiful trivia winner.
And with a trophy that, if you watch the video, you will see is directly from the dollar store. Karen Repine, our producer, bought this lovely thing. OG, you want to show just how kind of deformed this trophy is? And Paulette's got.
Bye, Paulette.
Hey, Paulette.
Paulette's like, I don't care about your winner.
I do not believe in or support the
There it
trivia
is.
challenge.
And
What's
I
funny
will.
is it looks
Not
like
as cool as the trophy I got for Pinewood
on.
Derby and Cub Scouts.
I gotta put my name on there again because it did wipe off.
oh,
It's got a little dry erase thing here, so you can claim it.
and for those people listening, by the way, Paulette has left the show. She just walked out.
I just wrote my name back on there. I had it erased just as we tried to figure it out, but it turns out I am the champion.
We need some
you wanna
speeches.
just get rid of-
Time for losers.
Normally, guys, like in
am the
Formula One, the top 3 drivers get to give a nice little speech at the banquet at the end of the year. So I thought we'd do something similar. Paulette has already walked out of the room. Hopefully she comes back. I think something happened with her internet. But Len, would you like to make a speech as the first runner-up, my friend? Here at the end of the year.
I'm the first loser. In other words, yes,
First loser.
First loser.
I will say congratulations, OG, but I must
sir.
point out you are only now attaining a pinnacle that I have reached 2 years ago. So the back-to-back.
To be fair, it's really I kind of sort of didn't participate for a little while in the Friday thing.
you were mailing it in. You
didn't apply yourself.
I didn't participate.
Next year is going to be the year we'll determine who is the true dominant.
Next year's the year.
OG.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I love the fighting spirit. All right, hold on.
That
I gotta
trophy's
let you
mine.
play.
I might let you win one.
Because
I got
we're
my
all about the
message.
long game here, Joe, I think I'm going to set it up so Paula and Paulette win the next 2 years. And then it's going to be 3 years from now before we can settle this thing once and for all.
We thought Paulette that you just walked off. Like, forget it. I'm not acknowledging.
Well, I didn't want to cry on camera, so
So at Formula One's year end, the top 3 drivers get to give speeches. So Len just gave a beautiful speech as second place. Paulette, it's your turn for a speech. Any
like
words
to
you'd like
thank
to say here at
Fax.
the end of the season?
I'd like to thank Fax for being out there. Facts we don't know, facts we never wanted to know, and facts that we still will not remember after hearing them on the show because we refuse to learn anything from the show.
I truly believe those are words of wisdom. Not that you refuse to learn anything, but that the trivia.
No, we
might
learn a
be
lot in the
facts
show.
that
That's
you-
why it's funny.
The facts during
Look how
trivia
much I've
time, though,
learned.
might not be.
Yeah.
And by the way, Paulette, I do have to say, and Len and OG, you guys will point this out. What a turnaround, right? When Paulette got on that run, the second half of the year, Len, was crazy.
Yes, it was very impressive. And it's good. It's the added competition is good. We've really got to. I don't know if we have to start giving Paula some help, or for next year, maybe we give her a hint.
Just teach her
I
how
don't
to
know,
Google
but
as fast as Paulette
It's almost
did.
embarrassing.
Oh,
Oh, that's right. I said it.
While I will not levy that, I will say this: that we did have one competitor this year that has come very close to the answer.
I told you how we
I'm
got
not
to
sure
solve that
why.
this year.
I'm not sure why you cheat on our trivia question, and a lovely person, but I'm really, when you figure out how there's really not a lot. It's not like she's going
How
to
do we
get
fix
a
that?
piece of that trophy.
How do
So
we fix
hey,
that,
speak.
OG,
Oh, I have an idea.
What?
I'll share it with you later.
please do.
I think though it's the time for the. I think it's time for the award, and big thanks to our good friend Eric Williams in Detroit for giving us the award. I'm sending this certificate to you. This is a Milk Bar cake gift certificate from Eric Williams.
Oh,
That's very fancy.
Wow, that's
that's a
I'm
pretty cool
jealous.
deal.
wow.
What's a
I'm
milk
jealous
bar?
now too.
Yeah, those are like 3 different things. Milk bar cake.
Doug's like, my
Transmission, tires. We're just naming nouns now.
It's absolutely deliciousness. So congratulations, OG. And we're gonna take a couple weeks off trivia at the beginning of the year and start it up again.
Just to let Len
start it up again.
Cool down, bro.
Oh, I'll get you next year, buddy. Don't you worry.
Welcome back to the second half of our last show of 2022. We actually have a full week of shows next week. It's going to be the shows that most inspired us. And while OG and I will kick off those episodes, we're looking back at some of our most inspiring guests of 2022. But let's dive into this second half of the show, brought to you by Magnify Money. Paulette, you know what happens when you go to stackingbenjamins.com/magnify money?
You have to minimize the screen as soon as your spouse walks in.
You've got that toggle right away. Yeah.
Oh, I know the answer, Joe.
Control windows.
Joe, I know the answer.
Are you comparing interest rates again? Did I catch you comparing interest rates? Yes, you did.
Well,
Shopping
sorry,
around.
She sounds hideous.
Or look at that. Oh, you think 3% is great? Are you all about 3%? Is that it? 92% of the banks doesn't mean they're all ranked head to head. I feel bad for the other 8% of banks. I didn't know where I'm going with this. StackingBenjamins.com/magnify money. And you can compare bank accounts against each other, savings accounts, checking accounts. StackingBenjamins.com/magnify money. Oh boy. Let's hit the second half of this. We'll go in reverse order. Paulette, what's another thing we should have learned from 2022?
So in the same vein, if you're building your own business, don't attach yourself to a single platform. So, Elon Musk came in and basically just disrupted so much about Twitter. And I feel terrible because writers especially put so much work into building a community on Twitter, and then some billionaire comes in and throws a tantrum, and now no one knows what's going to happen. So it just shows the importance of, if you are building something, making sure that you're on your own foundation that you built. And, I definitely use a lot of other people's platforms as, definitely to help me build it, but I wouldn't be devastated if Instagram went away or Facebook went away or, MailChimp went away. I would still have the email addresses. So in a lot of different ways, making sure that you're building your own foundation for your life and not relying on some other company.
Boy, what a great lesson there. I mean, what a very public lesson there. OG, no matter what business you own, building a foundation, I think, is huge.
Well, and like Paulette said, making sure that you know kind of what is supporting all of that. How many times have we used technology or a tool to aggregate all of our data? Or, I'm a Microsoft money person. It's like, well, now you're not. It's like you have to be the one that, to your point, Paulette, you've got to own the data. So if you don't, if you kind of give up control of all of that stuff, then you're at the whim of somebody else. So,
Len, this I think, looking at your career, why I think, we've had so many experts on here that talk about make sure every project you do at work is a resume builder, right? I mean, back in the day, my dad worked for a company where it was 30 and out, and those days are long, long, long gone. Like, your company doesn't own your career anymore. Your foundation's got to be that resume now. Your LinkedIn, the people, the projects you're working on.
Yeah, it's projects and you made a good point too with people as well. The more people too. But you always want to be growing. You don't want to be stagnant. If you're in a technology field like myself, it's imperative that you continue to grow. You can't rest on your laurels. That's another thing that a lot of people do. They'll hit do some great project early on, and they'll try to rest on their laurels. And before they know it, 2 or 3 years down the road, everybody's passing them up on the corporate ladder, and they're wondering why. Well, it's because you're resting on your laurels and you haven't continued to grow. So growing, your entire life, the key is to continue growing and learning and making yourself better. So.
I feel like Len just did the corporate version of the post-game interview in the locker room, where it's like, hey, we just had to focus on our game. We just had to Win one
good
for
game
the team.
plan.
It's all about the team.
Yeah, we had
Have
a good game plan. We worked really hard, put in a lot of work this week, and we're excited. We're excited about next week. We're looking forward to it. Put this one behind us.
You know
One
what,
game
though?
at a
It's
time.
true. It's true. I mean, it doesn't make it any less true. So
That's the thing. And I think this social media stir up is just a good reminder of that it is true. What happened yesterday does not mean it's going to be like that tomorrow, right? Anything can change at any time. And
God, now Joe's doing it too.
yes. And so we need to win this week because we don't know what next week
Stuff
brings.
out there.
Yes.
The other people are playing a good game. The other people, you can see how sportsy I
The
am.
other people.
Other
The
people,
other people.
they got a great goal unit.
Go, my favorite sports team. Score a goal unit basket.
Sports ball. Put the round thing in the square thing.
Oh, gee, please save us. What's the next thing we should have learned from 2022?
A recession is better than inflation. So we'd much rather have a recession than long-term inflation. Len was talking about this earlier about how, if the real returns are really what ultimately matters. Your after inflation rate of return. And if inflation is left alone, then you have high turnover, you have high cost of borrowing, you have high prices. And if your money is not keeping up with that, then you run a really big risk of running out of money. So the cure for that is increasing interest rates to kind of knock down that high spending, and it's not very pleasant. Recessions kind of suck, but recessions are a better outcome than long-term high inflation. So sometimes we got to take the medicine, and that's kind of the lesson.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, I like the old phrase that we all have to get medicine sooner or later, and we always want our medicine as a pill, but sometimes it's got to be a shot. A recession is the pill version, and inflation is the shot. And nobody wants the shot, right? That's painful. It's uncomfortable. It's a shocking event, and it hurts. But recession is the better of the two options for medicine.
Well, I will say this. Inflation tends to affect everybody unless you're really wealthy, whereas a recession doesn't necessarily affect people evenly. So, I mean, if you have a good business or you're, sometimes you can tend to weather the storm a little better. Whereas that inflation, you're not going to get away from it. It's gonna hit you. So.
I think the thing about inflation for me is that who had this on their radar a year ago? That inflation is 9 years out of 10 or even 19 years out of 20. This is like the silent thing we don't even think about. Oh, the price of stamps
more
went
like
up, or
40 years out of 41.
Yeah.
It's
right.
It's been low for everyone's entire life, basically. I mean, except Len's.
Wow. I just remember, it's something old people would always about. Oh, the price of eggs. I hate the price of eggs. You go to the gas pump lately, and now, man, that's everybody. And
you're one of
complaining
the
about
To be that way.
What's that, Paulette?
You don't have to be that old to be that way anymore. It's
No,
like
not now.
18-year-olds,
Yeah.
like, remember 2019?
But who had it on their radar? I mean, Paulette, sticking with you, was inflation even on your radar a year ago?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Len?
Well, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but yes, it was. Yes.
But that's because Len.
in hindsight, how could it not
Wait a
be?
minute. Hold on
Look,
a
I
second.
couldn't win the
OG. Let's
trivia,
just
so
be
I'm going to
clear.
take credit somewhere.
Right. I just want to pause a minute and be clear. Len has predicted 18 of the last 4 downturns. So of course Len thought that there was going to be hyperinflation.
Oh, it's not hyperinflation yet.
Yet.
That's
There
still
it is.
coming, right?
I mean, the data was
Exactly.
there. The data was there to see in terms of all of the extra money that got kind of stuffed into the economy during COVID. And, but I don't think many people wanted to acknowledge that was going to be the outcome. I think, except Len, of course. Len was like
I think
out
we
there
were
with the sandwich sign, the end is near, on the corner. He's all disheveled with his beanie on.
This is the first year I've been able to say "I told you so" in a long time.
Repent, the end is near. You know. Are you the prophecy?
I think for the average person listening to this show, they would say it didn't even register a year ago. It was maybe
no,
okay. Yeah. Let's wrap this up. Len, what is our last thing we should have learned from 2022?
Well, I'm going to say if you add everything up, the inflation and the recession that we're in, and then even the things like the FTX scandal, and the crypto, some of those crypto scandals where things that are blowing up. I think this is the year we've learned that risk management, it's more important than ever. And it's something that we should all focus a little more on, whether that means keeping in mind that when you're speculating in things, it could be much more dangerous than you might anticipate. The fact that you have to keep a closer watch on your portfolio now. It was a lot easier when the stock market was going up to, kind of almost set it and forget it. But now you're going to have to actually pay more attention to your portfolio and maybe rebalance once or twice a year. Take a look at that a lot more closely. You might want to keep a bigger emergency fund just for who knows what else is coming around the corner that you can't see. And maybe you might want to reconsider taking on more debt. So I think risk management is something that might be more important.
Yeah, I think a big year for risk management. Wow. And after, looking at companies going into COVID, thinking about risk management, this has been kind of a recurring theme, I feel like, a few of the years lately that we didn't have after that big run up, right? We had that huge run up. Paulette, I was just reading a story that a lot of young, wealthy people don't invest in stocks. They invest in all this hot stuff, this go to the moon stuff now, right?
I can see what you thought of me.
Absolutely. But has Len nailed it here? Are these people going to learn a lesson here from 2022 that maybe we need to stick with the basics?
Yeah. I think, that there is I think that there's like a kind of bragging factor around it. I've been watching White Lotus, which if anyone's been watching that, like it's just like, kind of like there's this cool factor of finding the new thing. It's like, you used to be that band that you heard before anyone else. And now it's like this obscure investment that you found before anyone else. So yeah, I think we don't want it to be boring, and it needs to be. And that's like such a huge lesson.
Do you think social media created that? Like we can brag about our investments now in front of a wider group of people, which gives us FOMO?
Yeah. So my fellow young, wealthy people, lend me your ears. It is the flashy thing, right? Where it's all about a certain look and, like what your life looks like for other people, I think has become so much bigger than it used to be.
Now, Len, I'm sorry, on to White Lotus, because I think I'm interested in this too.
I am, because I wanted to, Paulette, is that the thing where you put your leg behind your neck and then you kind of contort to the... Is that what that is? Paulette?
No, Len, it's a TV show.
I have friends watching this show that said it's really good. I'm not watching it. Any you guys watching it, Doug?
Oh, it's so good. Especially about Doug, like the first seasons were great. The second season's like a lot of income stratification themes.
Good friend of mine was talking about it literally 2 days ago. Said, "You watch White Lotus?" I'm like, "No, haven't watched any of it." He said the same thing. Fabulous show. I think it's going to do it for today. I think that's a great wrap up, guys, at 2022. I can't believe 2022. It feels like we were just introducing the year with a Magic 8 Ball. Now we're about to introduce a new year with another Magic 8 Ball episode, first week of next year. Let's find out what all of you have going on where you live and work over the holidays. Paulette, what's going on with Powerhouse Writers? I know you're gearing up for another season.
Yeah, we're starting January 24th this year. And to kind of kick that off, I'm doing a goal setting workshop on January 2nd, actually, in the evening. And really want to focus on this kind of middle way of goal setting where I think people are either like hyper hustle culture or very anti hustle culture. So it's kind of this like way to hold the middle space where you're enjoying the now, you're enjoying your life, but you're also pushing yourself toward where you want to get to, right? And just acknowledging that the best, happiest way is kind of somewhere in between the like super, productivity every moment, micro tasks, between that and like laying on the couch all day and just watching TV. So finding that balance, but also setting goals for the year. So those are both on powerhousewriters.com.
Oh, gee, what do you got going on over the holidays, my friend?
100% of nothing. I might
Fabulous.
Might do a little flying. I've got I've got some time to kill, so I might bounce around a little bit. But no, just hanging out with the family. Gonna have some nice meals. I've got some meals planned. We talked about a week ago. Didn't the whole Stacking Benjamins crew come over?
Standing rib roasts
and potato ricers or something. But anyways, so
one of the most gross conversations we've had on this show. We've had a lot of gross conversations.
By a long shot.
That's right. We were dry aging it in the stocking. First.
Yes, just horrible.
Just in the cheesecloth. But no, we're just hanging out. Kids are here. We're gonna have a lot of family time.
Len Penzo, it's always a party at lenpenzo.com. How you ending the year over there, my friend?
I'm working on getting better jokes for 2023. That's what I'll be doing. There's nothing really going on at my blog. So
that should take virtually no effort at all.
I promise I'll try to be better next year.
Best dad joke. Send.
Just can't. And that's at lenpenzo.com. New, upgraded, under new management dad jokes. Yeah. All right, everybody. Happy holidays to all of you. Doug, you've got it from here, man. What should we have learned today?
Well, Jill, first, as much fun as we have trying, you can't predict what will happen in a year. So keep your emergency fund healthy. Second, as we try to navigate this recession, beware of hero worshiping. Don't tie yourself to anyone or anything. Not even Kanye. Diversification is a brand new thing that we've invented here on Stacking Benjamins. Keep listening to learn more. But the big lesson, I can't believe it's almost 2023. Oh my God, I still have so far to go on my probation. Thanks to Paulette Perhach for hanging out with us today. Are you looking to start your freelance writing business? Join her Powerhouse Writers program starting January 24th to power your work, your words, and your writing potential. Check it out at powerhousewriters.com. Thanks to Len Penzo for joining us today. You can find Len at lenpenzo.com/runningoutofTime. Thanks also to OG for joining us today. Looking for good
Wow.
Not a fan of that one, Len?
Just wow.
That was that hurt, Doug.
That
hurt.
Ball.
You said it earlier.
That's okay if I say it. I don't need affirmation from you.
Okay, let's try that again. Thanks to Len Penzo for joining us today. You can find Len at lenpenzo.com/incredibly handsome and youthful.
That's more like it.
Thanks also to OG for joining us today. Looking for good financial planning help? Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG for his calendar. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2022. Thanks also to our team who made today possible. Karen Repine plotted out this episode for us and schedules our guests. Brooke Miller handles the show notes and creates our amazing newsletter, The 201. Tina Eichenberg makes this video version of this show, and both Saul-Sehy and Gertrude Smith are our social media mavens. Not only should you not take advice from these greaseballs, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. Or Len Penzo.
Did you know that diarrhea is hereditary?
No.
Runs in your genes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, speaking of diarrhea, did you know that it actually is Diarrhea Awareness Week? Runs till Friday. I do remember that one. Just spring that one on the honeybee, Len. Just like Cash and go, do you know it's Diarrhea Awareness Week?
What do Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh have in common?
Oh, boy.
They both have 3 names.
Same middle name.
Yeah. I was in the neighborhood.
What do you call a million rabbits walking backward?
Kill me. Kill me. Stab me in the eye. Please, can someone murder me virtually? Is that a thing?
It's a receding hairline.
It's a what? It's a receding hairline?
Receding hairline.
Paulette, it's a receding hairline.
I didn't even hear the
Hair-like
joke. I just
rabbit.
heard that there was another one coming.
Okay, last one. Last one. My neighbor has been mad at his wife for sunbathing nude. I personally am on the fence.
No.
This is why I only keep bear mace in my house and not a gun.
In case OG shows up with a joke book.
Wouldn't that be great video? Paulette like macing herself after one of OG's jokes. And that's finally the video that went viral. Like finally. She has had
Took
enough.
one for the team.
Yes. She's dying and she's like, "F this, Paula."
Is there something for prep on this? Because there's nothing in the.
Yes, there was, and we talked about it
It was
earlier
the
this
one
week.
that got sent out like a week ago, probably.
Well, but it's not on the. It's not on the calendar.
We need
invite.
three events that happened this year. Just so you have an extra one, because you're going to be asked to talk about 2. What was an event that happened this year that we could learn something from? So then each of us will bring something up, and then we'll bandy it about and have a
And then after show is what? 2 big events that happened to you, or one
I
big
might
event
have just
that
had
happened
it
to you
with Paulette
personally?
going, "Kill me, kill me."
Yeah,
It's just diarrhea jokes. It's just diarrhea jokes for the after. I mean, you started when like the diarrhea song from the 80s. That was a good like road trip song.
The diarrhea
So-
song.
When you're
I don't
sliding
know the
into home
diarrhea
and you
song.
feel something foam.
Diarrhea. Oh God.
Go on.
All right.
I mean, yeah,
I could.
Yes.
All right, let's record.
we have been
recording.
recording. This is all out there now.
It's all good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Well,
for the
picture my
posterity.
entire family in a minivan coming back hour 23 and a half, driving back from New Jersey to Florida. And yeah, it was great. Good times.
You're not going to
Are we
finish
going
it,
to do
though.
a show, though? Should we do a show?
You got to give us the rest of it.
That's it.
The whole song.
That is the whole song? Just
when
that
you're,
one
oh
verse?
my God.
those, though.
I have to text my family. When you're sliding
What's
into home and you
the
feel something
rest?
home. Diarrhea. That's it. That's the whole thing. And then there's lots of different ones.
That didn't even cover a mile of the trip.
No, I mean,
know.
they were endless.
Well, that's what we want to
Let me text
know.
my family.
What are the other ones?
I don't know. I was like 7.
Giggling the whole way because you got to say diarrhea.
See, Paulette with her diarrhea jokes. This is why I only have bear mace in my house and not a gun.
Right. It's okay when have you noticed? It's okay when she makes the inappropriate jokes. I mean, when we make the inappropriate joke, she purses the lips, she rolls the eyes, but then she comes out with them and they're gold.
As long as they're funny. That is
I
my
see.
only standard.
It was a receding hairline.
What was the opener?
hairline.
I don't even remember. What was it?
What do you call a big group of rabbits walking backwards?
That's funny.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. How do you sneak up on a really individual rabbit? Unique up on them.
Oh boy. This one gotta go. All right, let's record.
Should we call her on speakerphone?
Can you? Yes. Duh.
Call mom.
As one does from the stage of the Oscars.
Obviously. Oh, wait, let me.
Paulette?
Hi, Mom. You're on speakerphone with my podcast buddies, and they want to know if we remember any of the lyrics to the diarrhea song.
We just kept making them up. It was so silly. And we just kept throwing new ones in. And there were 5 of us in the car, and somebody would come up with a new one.
I feel like when you're sliding into second was on there too. I forget it though.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember any of them. It's been a long time ago.
We should have recorded.
So wait a minute. So Mom, are you saying you just kept plopping them out?
Oh my God. All right. I love you, Mom. I'll talk to you later.
Why can we even talk about that? No.
I gotta go get my bear mace.